everybody. It's time to get your global macro on. Welcome to QuantBox Live, where we uncover the best fundamental opportunities across the global markets. My name is Wayne McDonald. I'm an economist. I'm a trader. I'm an investor. I'm a lover. I'm a hater. QuantBox automates all your macroeconomic research. It goes into all the different databases around the world, things like the Federal Reserve, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, the OECD, and a whole bunch of others. And it pulls data out, and it organizes the data and displays it so that you fundamentally understand why money is moving. Now you think, well, that's a nice service. I like that service. You're like, Wayne, I appreciate this. Cool. But ultimately, the major benefit for becoming a subscriber of QuantBox is because you know why things are happening. You'll have the courage and the strength to let your winners run. That's the bottom line. You're not just guessing or responding to a green candle. Oh, look at the MACD told me to do it. So anyways, if you want to look at things like retail positioning versus institutional positioning, if you want to organize your thoughts, buying, neutral, selling, so on and so forth. How do you feel about the euro dollar? 20-year average, 10-year average, current year, technical analysis, fundamental analysis, market sentiment, logical scoring, linear projections of prices 7 days in advance. It's all at QuantBox. You know you want it. QuantBox.co. Take the trial. YouTubers, take the trial. It's only $8. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. So the Bank of Japan was the big moment last night. And all they said is what? They're going to be flexible. So I'll download the actual report. We can go through it word for word, not now, but later today. But the idea is they're going to let yields rise a little higher. They did this when we were at 0.23. They did this when we're at 0.5. Then they said they can let it go as high as 1, and now we're at 1. So more of the same. I wonder if they, though, think it's working. Well, but they are hitting their goals, and they are hitting their goals. Right, their stock market is up. Like if we look here, thanks. Okay. You see, I guess I should probably expand this. I think you need to expand it. Okay. Look at all the stock markets around the world. Okay. FTSE down, DAX down, Dow up slightly, S&P 500 slightly more, and the Japanese stock market way more up. You're like, oh, and they have a little bit of inflation. Remember, they spent 25 to 30 years trying to create inflation. Now it's out of control. It's almost 1.5%. They're trying to get to 2, yo. Everyone else is trying to get to 2, but the problem is they're at 7. Like it's a complete opposite problem. So right now, yeah. And then typically what happens in response to this policy, you would see yen weakness. Anyway, so let's take a look. We'll go through the world here. Yields still not 5.0. Remember, I'm hoping over the next 6 to 12 months, that's a lot of time, that the yield drops down to 4.5, 4.25, maybe 4.0. Not necessarily today, but hopefully stay below 5. If it's like 5.25, I might have to reconsider some of the positions I took. Okay. So, anyways, I want this to be down, which means money is going into the bond market, which would be the right thing to do during a time of geopolitical risk. My bigger concern is we have geopolitical risk and people are not buying bonds. Now, we also know that people actually must be buying bonds. The real problem that these high yields, because remember, 2 years ago, this was 0.88. Now it's 4.88. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of percent higher yields, right? All right. So, what does that actually mean? I believe the US is just on a debt rampage. And it's just showing you out of control spending. I mean, and if you've been around, you've heard that your entire life, but it's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of percent bigger than when you heard it in the 80s and the 90s and the O's and the tens, whatever you call those. It's like extraordinarily bad at this point. There's just too much debt. And remember, the treasury just sells debt and that pushes this up. So there's more debt than there are buyers. That's a problem, right? It's kind of like having 25 credit cards. Like, really? What do you need 25 credit cards? People have them. Trust me, I know. Oil, okay. It says up to 83, but remember it was higher than that not long ago. I'm very interested in oil, and that in particular, my numbers were, between 81 and 83, ideally 82. So looks like we got pretty close. Noise. Maybe that's my signal. That's my sign. Gold over 2000. Great. S&P 500. Big recovery day yesterday, but we expected that. More of a relief rally. Apple reports soon. Is that today? Apple might be reporting today. That might be a newsmaker. But I'm not sure if this is real yet. Technically, it's not. It's just an update. So we'll have to look at the analysis for that. Euro dollar stabilizing. Okay. All right. Well, that confirms things like the SP 500 and up, oil up. You would expect euro dollar up. Yeah. Okay. But Bitcoin not. Interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Bit of a mixed bag. Let's take a look at the gauges. Slight shift to risk on, slightly less risk off, same risk off. So on the longer term, nothing's really changed. On the medium term, things have changed very slightly, but not in bias. So what that means is, right, the S&P 500 has come down a bit. Gold has gone up a bit. Yields are up. Okay, we don't like that. Dollar index is flat. This is week over week. Yen is flat week over week. And VIX is up slightly. So like this is like nothing good, nothing really bad either, but nothing really good going on the weekly. So this is just maybe a one-hit wonder. We don't know. And that's why we use technical analysis as well as looking at VIX and yen and dollar and yields and gold and the stock market, right? Okay. But still lots of volatility. Now, I believe the actual VIX is below 20, which is a big improvement. I think it's like 19 or something. And that's pretty decent. 1935. Thank you, Jim. That's it's not bad. It's not bad. And I think it was closer to 30 not long ago. So excuse me. So an improvement, only up that much, but you see last yesterday coming down a bit. So yeah. So what I'm worried about, and let me get my drawing tool. Well, I don't see it here, so let me pop it up. Let's see if it'll. Oh, there it is. Good. What I'm worried about is we've had a period of down, and then yesterday was up, but nothing else has really changed that dramatically. Just yesterday was up. So at some point, whether it's today or tomorrow, okay, we go back this direction. And that's also why we use technical analysis. So that yesterday was an update. Great. Fine. Good. Nice. Um, okay, let's see if it'll continue. Take a look at the scatter plot. Okay. Bullish and expected. Swissy yen up, Euro yen up, Aussie yen up, pound yen up. Cool. Nice. Euro, 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 euro. So all it looks like euros are up. Yens are up. Look at Kiwi yen, CAD yen. These are things that are expected to be negative, even though everything else is positive. It's funny, but clearly all the yen pairs are up. Thing is, now are you going to play a continuation role? Are you going to buy dips on these things? That's what you have to. The news is out now. Okay, there's a shift, or let's call it an adjustment in the Bank of Japan's management of their currency. Cool, great. What are you going to do next? Okay, remember we're at 150, and I'm like, why not 200? Like, it's just going to take time. Okay. So anywho, yeah, yep. So then we can carry that out further and then say, you know, do we want to buy some of these things? So the big granddaddy of them all would be this one. And based on what's happened since October 12th, okay. Now remember, neutral, but QuantBox is looking at economic data. You can't think about what the Bank of Japan said last night, right? Like there's a reason we need a human to this process. So we also know that they intend to let the Japanese yen weaken, is basically what they told us. They didn't tell us how much. Okay. Um, but that's that. So you might say, you know, like for those that have taken, they're taking the stock trading course with me. One of the things we're talking about is, let's do this slightly thinner. One of the things we're talking about in our analysis is you consider a best case, a base case, and a worst case. Okay. And then you assign probabilities to each. And then you can do your mathematical calculations of what your expected return of that investment is going to be. Okay. Then this is what's going on here. So you can think in 7 days, if things continue as is, okay, worst case, base case, best case. Okay. Now, this was calculated last night. Okay. 150.80. And we can go to the ends now. And we can go to here. And we are at 150.70, 150.71. It said 150.80. We're 10 pips away from yesterday's projection by QuantBox. So it said our best case scenario is we will go here. Not bad. Okay. Now, of course, the party trick there is it's just math. It's a linear projection. Cool. So what we need to decide is, do you take that neutral economic position, dollar versus yen, and then do you add it? So let's say that's the base case for you, neutral. But then you're like, well, there was a tweak last night, psychologically at least, that really the Bank of Japan hasn't actually changed anything. But they kind of did the wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, we'll allow this to go higher. Oh, okay. Well, thank you, human. Okay. We need to then say, well, then maybe you adjust and you're thinking more best case for that than neutral. Which means you buy the dip going this way, huh? Okay. Be careful because 151 is obviously like the highest of all the highs. One high to rule them all, right? Well, no, you're thinking, well, this will just keep going up over time. Notice the volatility, but maybe the thing that changes is that the vol goes away because we're less concerned that the Bank of Japan is going to intervene any second and push back. They're like, yeah, no. Makes you wonder why they do this, or did the Bank of Japan do this? Is it just the fraidy pants investors? Do you think just every trader in the planet had a limit order right there to get out? Must be. So, anyways, that doesn't. No, that looks like intervention, but whatever. I mean, look, the Japanese yen versus the dollar moves like 68 pips a day. It doesn't typically drop 300 pips in 5 minutes. That's probably intervention. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. All right. So, anywho, very exciting times. If this continues, then we're going to 152.50. Okay. So now's your decision time. Okay. Will you buy a dip like this? Will you buy a dip like this? Okay. I don't know. What are you going to do? Okay. So there you go. Decisions must be made. Euro strong today, of course. Okay, that's typical of what happens when dollar is weak. When the U.S. is having a good day, Europe benefits. I know it doesn't make any sense, but don't think of it that way. Okay, so definitely close to two standard deviations. Typically, this is a time to take profit. So I would expect something like this if you're going to remain a bull. Okay, it's always hard to believe, but the bulls that bought here learned a lesson, maybe. And the bulls that bought here learned a lesson, maybe. The bulls that bought here learned a lesson, maybe. Remember, you buy low. You just, if you have really hard and fast rules for yourself, you say, ooh, I really want to buy this euro yen, but it's not low. Okay. Someone will sell you their position that they bought down here. They'll sell it to you if you want to buy it high. You won't have any problems getting in. You'll just not getting a very good price. And I think, isn't that your job generally? There's two things, right? Decide what you want to own. And then the second part, get a good price for it. So, yeah, all the end pairs are up. Really? Okay. Yeah. So now you got to follow on. All right. Let's zip around. Let's look at some of the commodities here. Okay. So I've put a lot of focus on oil lately. I hit it hard last night as far as this is clearly an opportunity inside of an opportunity. Okay. There's the big one, and then there's a smaller one. So now I got to zoom in. Okay. And this is weekly, guys, weekly. So then you drop into daily. And yeah, this is an important area. We had a big drop, and now maybe it's holding up. Look at beep, 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 beep. If I'm a bull, am I allowed to buy a double bottom? Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Well, what if it hits at 21 and falls? Well, then I'll probably lose money. It shouldn't stop me from setting up a trade. So here's the 4 hour now. And at some point, I need to decide. Oops, do a different color. Okay. Do I buy in any of these wicks? See, those wicks are red candles on a smaller time frame. Cool. So maybe on the smaller time frame, I look at it this way, huh? So an Israeli soldier was rescued in Gaza. I'm like, wait, what? How'd they do that? There's some crazy stuff going on there, and it worries me. Do you think Hamas let the Israeli military rescue a hostage that just happened to be an Israeli soldier? Probably not. Those are the keepers, right? So how did Israel get them? This isn't like this is like I always because I don't have actual combat experience. uh, I have to rely on movies, and if you've ever seen a movie of the Vietnam era where there's just a guy and a flashlight and a handgun, and they're like, climb into that tiny little tunnel and go see what's inside. I'm like, no, I quit. I'm going home now, everybody. I think that's what's going on now. Now I think the tunnels are bigger, but and they're actually concrete and stuff like that. They have 40 years. Um, and the original tunnels actually were actually pretty good in Vietnam because the Vietnamese built it when the French were there. But nonetheless, anyways, I think they're fighting. This is an underground war, which is just absolutely bonkers in my mind, right? Like, oh, how many tanks do you have? Doesn't matter. Tanks are good for what? The desert. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't even know if tanks are that effective in the jungle. You're like, oh, you have a tank? Oh, what? Look, it sinks. But anywho, let's get back to reality. When I start hearing that, like, wait, Israel's getting soldiers there. I mean, this something's going on, right? So when something's going on, there's always a reaction. There's a counter move. If you've done game theory, tit for tat. Well, you have to expect the tat. Okay, so, anyways, yeah, I look at oil and just it's one headline, it's one tweet away from a jump, right? So, anyways, I'm willing to, let's say, risk how much? This much, just in case this goes to 200. Yeah, maybe, maybe. Anyways, S&P 500. Yep, this is the interesting one too. Where today Apple earns. Apple's going to make money, right? Yeah. So is that another update today before the Fed meeting? I don't know. I don't know. That's too much psychology. Let's just say what the chart says is this. Okay. But that's looking all the way back to basically Canada Day. So I have to stay with that technically. Okay. Now we can throw the QB on it, maybe. See, it looks at it from a different point of view. Where's my price forecast? It's only okay, only going back to October 11th. Okay. So again, think of this as almost a second opinion. Oh, that's not the site. That's me actually logged in. Where's the other version? Guess it's this one. Yeah, because this one I can actually make it bigger. All right, cool. Let me redo it. Okay. Best case, base case, worst case. Base case, we're on our way to below 4,100. Best case, well, I have to say best case because I'm actually short, uh, but I'm mostly long. So it's either worst case or best case, depending on the situation. But if this continues to fall dramatically, okay, one standard deviation below the mean, we're on our way to 4,000 on the Dow. By the way, is this helpful to have linear projections in the future? Yeah. Remember, it's not guessing. I want to just remind you is it's oops, I didn't want to do it that way. It's simply looking at the average price. And then, okay, how much it rises over time. Call that the rise over the run, otherwise known as slope. So it's just taking the slope. And then, as you know, I've taught you a million times how to calculate standard deviation. So we're just taking standard deviation and projecting that on the same slope. So it's like if everything just stays the same and moves in the same direction at the same rate as it has been for, not quite a month, then what will the future be? I guess 2 weeks, right? This is about 2 weeks. So what would the next week look like? So that gets me down to 4,000 to 4,100. And that is delete. Okay. Let's do it this way. If that okay, so therefore, um, okay, boom. Is it thinking forward and saying, well, what about the Fed meeting on Wednesday? What about non-farm payrolls on Friday? No, no, no. Again, that's your part of the job. You need to do both. Like the fable I wrote. Oh, you're gonna love my fable. The Cipher and the Cyclops. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, anyways, yeah, you have an algo, you have some AI, but you still have to think forward. Okay. So, are you a believer in that pattern? Yes, as Jim points out to Newton's laws of physics, an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless a greater force is acted upon it. Well, we can guess what that might be. I would rather just observe. Okay. So, to borrow from from Newton, you know, it's never going to happen until it happens, right? Something like that. This market is never going to reverse until it reverses. Okay. Unless you do have the capacity to stop an out of control freight train from running you over with your superpowers, right? Yeah. But you get on the tracks first. I'm not going to do it. So, anyways, yeah, this will continue to fall. Okay. Have you seen that sport where I don't know what country they do this, but you roll a wheel of cheese down a hill, and then people have to go get it? Like like that. Wait, that's a sport? Uh-huh. Anywho. Hey, I'm Scottish, so we find like flipping a tree. Get a telephone pole, flip it. Yeah, that's cool. Got nothing better to do. All right. So, anyways, oil I find very interesting. The stock market I'm very focused on, and ever so slowly we are still climbing. Okay. I pointed this out yesterday or the day before. I don't know what day it is. Is it Tuesday? So maybe Sunday night we looked at this at part of Investor Boot Camp. We probably covered this at forex.today, but we're just trying to kick it off the moving average, right? So, anyways, that looks like a moving average to me. Excuse me. The big up required a bigger drop, but now, right? Because if you look back, you know, this was a nice support. This was a nice support. These are just daily pivots. Nice support. We have it here. There's Monday, right? Daily pivot. So the thing is, will this move up today? And if so, then this will move up to here. And we will resume what I call the stairway to heaven. Boop, boop, the steps, right? We start stepping up again. Mhm. All right. I think we'll just leave it at that. I think we'll leave it at that. That's a lot. So, Bank of Japan, obviously the big thing. Tomorrow we have a Fed meeting. Yeah, and it just occurred to me like the Fed meeting is happening right as we're probably in a lecture for the stock trading course. I'm like, I don't know if we should squeeze it in or not. So I might, if you're in that stock trading course, I might have to send you an email. Just occurred to me this morning. I'm like, I should probably move it. Um, the Fed, it's pretty important. Um, and then what do we have? Bank of England on Thursday. Is that right? BOE Thursday. NFP Friday. There's some ISM mumbo jumbo in there too. I think Apple's reporting either today or tomorrow. It's congested. Oh, Denise says Apple November 2nd. Today is Halloween. Oh, okay. So that's like Thursday or Friday? Thursday. All right. So that's cool. But I think there are about 35 companies reporting today, but just maybe nothing huge like that. Cool. So, anyways, look, we got lots to do. Yeah, Bank of England, November 2. Yeah, that's Thursday. Yeah, cool. Right. And then yeah, non-farm payrolls on Friday. So, hey, look, not a boring week. So right now we had an up day and a downtrend when it comes to the stock market, and now we have not the volatility on the yens. What has actually occurred is a confirmation of a monetary policy. So it's more than like, oh, it jumped 200 pips. Yeah, well, great. So what are you going to do next is the biggest thing. Is this a trend? Are you a believer in this trend? Are you going to buy the trend? Are you going to let it run? Okay, cool. When's the next BOJ meeting? Can you let it run until then? Have a psychological target. Uh, Back when I first started trading, I realized one of the problems that I had when I first started trading professionally is that I was just trying to make as much money as I possibly could every day. What the heck does that mean? And I realized I wasn't running my trading as a business, right? And businesses plan their income. They have business plans. Apple doesn't say, I don't know, we're going to sell as many phones as we possibly can. Like, well, what's the strategy? We're just going to try really hard every day. You got to have a strategy, right? In that case, so if you can get these yen pairs, do you think they'll run to the next or the next Bank of Japan meeting? When is that meeting? And maybe the plan is hold it until then, right? Who knows? The thing is, think about it and try it. Peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May your profits be above average.